Hey, everybody, and welcome to Sticky Icky Live Classics. And tonight we have a special guest. Let me add him to the stream. Danny Stockman is joining us, and he has got one of my favorite cars that I think I've got a history with this car because I owned it, and Danny bothered me enough and convinced me to give it to him only because one reason, and that was he had a connection to the maker of the car, and he went through it, rebuilt it. So what you're going to see tonight, if you're not familiar with NASCAR in the 1990s, one of the most successful teams, Wood Brothers Racing, two brothers, one of them was Leonard, and Leonard has gone through the car and everything's done by hand, and Danny's going to show us some of the cool stuff around that. So, man, welcome to the show, Danny.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really into these vintage pan cars and stadium trucks, and I appreciate you selling it to me a couple years ago. So I had the opportunity to let Leonard go through it and rebuild it, and we can talk about it and show it off a little bit. And if anybody has any questions, we can answer them as best as we can.
Yeah, I think that the one question I'll start out with, though, is the coolest thing about the car is it's built the closest to some of the physics that real race cars run. And that's what I always thought was unique about it. And so what we're going to see is a trailing arm suspension. We call it a pan car, but it was hardly a pan car. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like the cars you work on every day, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's there's a lot of moving parts on this car. I think for the average person to try to take this out and try to figure it out and try to get it to go around the racetrack, they'd have a really hard time. So, but it's an awesome piece of history, and every part on this thing is built by Leonard Wood by hand. It is he had templates for all the pieces, and everything's cut on a router by hand. So he's a hobbyist, one of the best car builders to ever live, in my opinion, and it's a pretty awesome piece.
Yeah, I think Morgan Shepherd would agree. He built him some great rides over the years.
Yeah.
So hey, why don't you go through it a little bit? Usually, what we do, we start from the front to the back on them. If you're not familiar, this car was built middle '90s. It was actually a partnership between TRC and Leonard Wood. There's very few of these around, and if you have one, you've got something really special. So kind of walk us through, how's the front end work on that thing?
So it's independent front suspension, just like a real stock car. It has a front sway bar, and the upper control arms are adjustable to change your camber, an A-arm style, just not a link like we're used to these days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coil-over front suspension. The lower control arm, I don't know if you can see it that good.
You actually can, yeah.
But it's pretty awesome. When we get to the back, that's where it's really awesome. But like I said, everything is hand built by hand. This ain't cut in a CNC lathe or mill. It's hand built, hand cut on a router. So it's actually really nice, though, and he takes a lot of time and a lot of pride in building these cars, or he did back in the day. And like I said, he literally just rebuilt this car for me. It's probably been, when did I get it from you? About 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's probably been a year and a half ago since he went through it, and like all the carbon's cut by hand. The motor that's on it now is a Hyper 12 motor, and you look at the pipe on this thing.
It's like a chainsaw pipe.
Hand built. You look at the inside, you can see the knurls. I mean, this thing sounds mean. So
you ran it?
I fired it up, yes. But I'm scared to drive it. I don't want to break it.
Yeah, that was my problem with it. Is I said, man, where are you going to get another front A-arm for that car? And
right.
With my history of King,
another cool thing is the way the brakes work. There's a there's a lever. I don't know if you can see it in there. Right in here.
Yep.
On the clutch bell, there's a lever. You can see it move right in there.
Yeah.
That's the brake. It's a lever that grabs the clutch bell to slow it down. It's made out of a piece of carbon.
The one thing I noticed when you're moving the front end is there's almost no camber gain for all.
No, everything is there is nothing. Like everything's in line with each other. Let me see if I can show you that. You can see. Sorry, my camera is a little bit not as good as all your stuff here.
No, I struggle with it every Thursday night when I'm trying to show everything. Do not worry.
Kind of like pan cars today. I don't have much camber gain or loss.
Right.
This one just has twice the adjustment that anything today has. Okay, so what else is cool? Bell crank steering on the front, similar to what you would see like a Terminator style dirt oval car. The rear suspension.
That's now this is where it gets trick.
This is where it gets really trick, and you'll see these pieces right here. That's called a Watts link. So that keeps the back of the car from moving left to right. Back in the day, like late model cars, me growing up, that's what we used to run, that style of suspension. Instead of like a track bar or a Panhard bar, we used to run this style like on road course racing and stuff to keep the rear end from moving left to right. But so it has links on the bottom. Can you see them?
Yep. Right there. That's a good shot of it.
I'm all messed up here. But the rear suspension is, you look at the bottom of the pan.
Yeah, I think that's the piece that throws everybody off when they see one of these. So the bottom of the chassis, like with a T-plate car, it doesn't move because the Watts link is doing all of the articulation, and it's actually able to move up and down together and then independently at different angles. So
right. Then it's got a sway bar on the top right here.
Now, would you ever adjust the Watts link?
You know, on this car, it has 3 holes on each side, so I would say yes.
What would that do?
I mean, it just raises and lowers the roll center. Same thing as like a track bar or a Panhard bar on a late model car. Pretty awesome, really. Like every time I look at this thing, it's like there's so much to it, and you try to wrap your head around what's going on, and it's not that difficult. It's just when you look at it, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it has a diff. You can kind of see it in there.
Great shot. So he rebuilt. There were a couple of different rear ends. That's actually, he's rebuilt it back to the original.
Right. This is not, I don't think this is what came on it when I got it from you, is it?
No, it isn't. No, it's the first time I'd seen that part.
Because this is a completely new new axle, and the gears are all brand new. So the bottom of it's actually pretty rough, but
no, it's so that was the thing, is that a lot of these cars, I mean, that's why there's not a lot left. One, it was low production numbers, and I don't know exactly how many it was, but I guarantee it's under 100. Probably under 50. At the time, it was a very expensive car, and because they were hand building them out of Virginia. And then you take that plus some years, plus running gas, plus all of the things that kind of strike against it. And there's not a lot of these left in existence, and certainly not one this way. I know there's a couple floating around a little bit rougher shape. And there's some that are in private collections, but yeah, these cars were ran, and they ran really well.
Do you know where this one came from?
I do. I got that out of Georgia. A guy ran it at the Sugar Bowl back in the day. So over there in Duluth, Georgia's, I I don't recall his name. I actually bought it on an eBay auction. Is how I came into ownership of it.
Right.
And I held on to it for probably a decade. And then, like I said, the thing presented. So
So I know of Joey Kubat. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah. Yep. Joey.
He has one that he bought at a yard sale back in the day when he was a kid for $25, I believe he told me.
Yeah, he famously also told me that it was a $25 car. So
yes.
I about fell out of the chair when he told me that.
And I'd like to try to buy it from him.
I offered him 30 for it last week.
Yeah, I'd like to try to buy it from him myself, but I think he wants me to see if I can get it rebuilt for him. And then I know Bob Stormer from Stormer Hobbies actually has one that when it was TRC, when he must have merged with TRC Leonard at some point, and it's the one that was in all the pictures.
Oh, really? So Bob got that one.
Yeah, Bob has that one, and I don't know if you know Bob, but he has a lot of vintage stuff, and I try to buy stuff from him all the time, but he wants astronomical amount of money for stuff.
He is the case where the sentimental value outweighs the retail value.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got a lot of cool stuff, but he wants a lot more than I'm willing to pay. So
yeah. Well, hey, so we've got a couple of minutes. I say, hey, Mr. Dieter, we appreciated your car last week. And
Dieter's on there?
Dieter is on there. It says it's a shame that class didn't take off. Saw Birch, that's Ralph Birch, if you don't know Birch, run one at King, and they only had a heater. So Leonard had inclined kingpins on that too, only a few degrees if I remember. Now, I don't know if that has inclined kingpins on it.
It has inclined kingpins on it.
Jeff has.
It does.
That is
it
awesome.
Does.
Holy cow. There you go, Dieter, with the score on that one. So, is Leonard willing to refresh them for owners? I don't know if he is or not. And
I'll bet you Dieter knows more about this car than me and you do.
I promise, Dieter knows more about anything I do. So, I will always defer to him. And we'll post up if you've got any questions for Mr. Stockman around this car, and we'll ask those. I think one of the interesting things, a lot of folks aren't familiar with kind of.
Ask Dieter if this pipe was something that they would have ran back then.
You just did. So let's see if he posts up.
Yeah.
In your page there, if you click to comments, you can see the comments coming in. By the way.
Well, let's try that.
Mr. Riley. We've got an all-star cast. Bill Osborne's on tonight. This is a great group. So, so Brian wants to know, does it have some kind of bird cage?
Kind of, yes. It's like a trailing arm rear suspension. It not a bird cage, okay? It has one link on the back, like a cup car, a truck, or Xfinity car type rear, like a trailing arm style rear suspension, not a bird cage, so that the thing won't travel and rear steer and all that stuff, because the Watts link in the back. There's one link in the back on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Was that adjustable there too, so you can put rear steer in that thing?
Yes, exactly. See the link?
Yep. The only thing that...
And there's a top link here that keeps...
Can you imagine just how bad you could get that car jacked up?
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to wreck this thing.
Jody, we were just talking about Danny painting up a 21 body for that, and he and I were cooking a deal. I think I have a wide...
See how the Watts link works right there.
Oh, that's perfect. Yep.
That's what keeps the lateral movement out of the rear suspension. So.
Yeah, let me catch a few of these up. So, Jody, yeah,
exactly what Dieter said. 3-link rear suspension with a Watts link. Just like back in the day, a super late model asphalt car. same thing.
Yep.
Top link, which this top link, you might be able to find some more rear grip if you drop the upper pivot some.
How
But
thick
who
is
knows?
how thick is that roll bar?
Probably about 083 or 080.
A piece of wire there.
Yeah.
So Dieter says he never drove one. I find that hard to believe. And they also commented that looks like a boat pipe. That's what I thought too. I thought it did look like a boat pipe. But yeah, that's let's see. We got more stuff coming in now. Let's see.
So the bearing, he's wondering how the bearing holds the axle. So there's a bearing carrier right there.
Yep.
And it's a straight axle on the back.
Yeah, so it's a pan car. To kind of catch you guys up, it's a pan car axle, and then it had bearing carriers on it, just like a pan car would have had. If those are connected to the top versus the bottom, and then the Watts link is connected to the chassis, and then he's got a straight axle, and I think it was aluminum straight axle through that.
Yeah,
but
it's almost like the rear diff is real similar to a 8-scale on-road car nowadays.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It's very similar, except instead of having the belt, does it still have the shaft drive?
Yep, shaft driven. Let's see if I can show you all that.
Yeah, that's a great shot. And so, yeah, you've got the clutch bell goes right to that spur gear, which is then held up by that aluminum part. Goes back to looks like a dog bone. And then that's what drives into the rear gears.
Yeah.
So Joey is saying mine only has one crosslink from the left to the right. Wonder if they had different versions.
Yeah, he did, and I'm sure Dieter can talk about that. I've seen other ones that aren't a Watts link like the back of this one before too.
Yeah, I think that car is actually rarer with the Watts link. I think the original versions did not have that. Jeff's saying his is belt drive. Now, I never knew of the shaft drive until I saw this one. The belt drive was more common. Joey, yep, Joey's is belt driven too.
Whoever wants to sell them, just send me a message and I'll buy them.
Don't send him anything. If you got anything, like, come on, man, it's got to come this way. It's got to come down to South Carolina.
Yeah.
This is how it goes with me and Danny. Something cool shows up on eBay. We're bidding against each other.
Yeah, we don't even know it.
So
I was pretty excited when you sent me a message of this thing, and I was like, I didn't even know if you knew that I was a pan car collector, and it was like, holy shit, I gotta have that. And I think Reese drove it up to me at RCR.
He did drop it off at RCR.
He dropped it off to me, and I was like, holy crap. Because I've heard of these things, but I never really seen one. And then as soon as I got it, I did a bunch of research on it. So
Reese says buy two so you can run them easily together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to knock Joey out of his. Now he's saying you can refurb it for me. Yeah. Send it down. We'll get going on it. All right. Let's see if we got any other comments. What a fun show. I appreciate you joining us, Danny. I've been looking forward. I've been bothering him for 6 months or so to come on the show. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to build something else pretty cool here. I'm going to have to hit up Dieter. I know he's got some cool stuff that I might need.
The one thing,
I just love all this old vintage stuff, man. I really do.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't warn you this when we were talking earlier. I wanted to bring up, but you've been hunting down a bunch of Nitro late models too, haven't you?
Yeah, I miss Nitro a lot, and I guess when I started RC racing back in 1998, my first RC vehicle was a RC10 GT. And my biggest love for collecting old vintage stuff is Nitro Stadium truck. So I don't know, I probably got 10 or 15 Nitro Stadium trucks, and I got brand new in the box RC10 GT still sealed. I got brand new in the box triple XNT Losis they're getting rarer and rarer, and I don't even tell people I have them because, you know, people want to shoot you for them. But I just love Nitro. I wish we can get it back.
Corns is sitting on one of the largest Losi collections too, and he doesn't tell anybody about it. But I wouldn't say that in front of anyone.
Right.
So,
but I love my favorites Nitro stuff. I collect Nitro. No 21 stuff though. It's all .12 stuff, and you know I try to, and it's got to be new. It can't be beat up, new in the box or stuff like that. So I don't want any junk. I got my whole upstairs basement is collecting stadium trucks, and I also collect pro 10th scale and 8th scale the pro drivers' bodies. I don't know. I'm a hobbyist.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, and that's why we when we started this show, I was wondering if we would find an audience, but it's done really well. And this is kind of the last one. We're in the middle of, you guys have been enjoying my shed. We're moving into a new building starting in June. So we'll be off for a couple of weeks. We've got a score race to go to. And then once we get back, first week or whatever that first Monday of June is, we'll be back. And I've actually got some stuff. We've got some old Cox buggies and motors and things my dad had from the 70s. So we're gonna go really old for a while. But I'd love to get some of the night. I think there's a number of guys on here probably that watch these shows that don't know kind of that history around the Nitro pan car, Nitro, certainly not the Nitro late models. And so it'd be great to have you back on with a couple of those.
I have a brand new Custom Works Nitro late model, an early one of the early ones that I found in a hobby shop in California that I started building last year. It's going to be pretty cool when I get it done.
Yeah, that would be. The one thing I want to do is I'd like to have a vintage class. They run that about once a year, twice a year up at Corns's place. And a lot of those guys have ran it. I know No Show runs his, and Goodman runs his. And that would be fun to do down where we're at. Except all of us be too worried about running into something. We'd have to go out single lap qualifiers or something.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, let's see. So we'll start up a few here. So Jody was saying we need to paint a 21 car. I'll see if I can find you a Thunderbird in the collection. I know I've got Grand Prix, wide Grand Prix. I'll look and see if I can find that for you.
Yeah, I want something period correct for that car and what they would have ran back then, and then I want to paint it. Jody Miller will paint it up, you know, like a Leonard Wood style car, 21 Ford or something.
Go car, man.
Oh, you know what else I got this week? I don't know how much you know about stadium trucks, but I found 2 brand new stadium trucks in California. They were a main Dungeon RC10 GT conversion.
Okay.
Brand new, put together. When we get off here, I'll send you some pictures of it.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I was a stadium truck guy, too. I had the old cow paint job on my Associated back in the day.
Yeah.
I in that era. Let's see. So we've got RJ's talking about the bat wedge. So, oh, speaking of that, let me show. I got this great score. So we had the bat wedge on. If you guys didn't watch the show last week, go back and watch it. We had the bat wedge on, and Roman sent us, let me get it in here. So this was the answer for the bat wedge from Custom Works. So Chris Smith actually painted this car up for him. and in
That is
1990
awesome.
for the Worlds. And yeah, so I've been tasked with finding a car to go underneath it by my good friend Roman. And I
So
got
everybody's watching here. That's what I want to do next. I want to build a badass dirt oval vintage car. Like
Yep.
Pullman already has one, and it's badass. But I got to have one to go with all my dirt oval stuff. So
I have Pullman sitting about 3 feet from me, and so he's probably going to want it back at some point. But
yeah,
I find it. But yeah, the bullet wedge. That's exactly right, Brian. That's what it was. But no, like I said, I think we need to figure that out. Like for the Dixie Nats, we'll get Brent or somebody. That gives us enough time to dig some stuff up.
that'd be fun.
Sure, that would be. We will not do that the same time they do the Fireball race, though. We'll separate those two events apart. But yeah, that's what I need. Do you have a Dominator, Danny?
I don't.
I don't either. I have the Dominator.
I was just getting ready to say I've come across quite a few that I did not buy.
I've done the same, and I haven't found one at the price range that I was willing to do, or the quality that the price range required. So,
what are we calling vintage for dirt oval, though? How far back?
I would say, well, if it came from California Custom Works, that would be vintage.
That's vintage.
And let's bring them all to the last score race and show them off. Absolutely, we'll do that. I don't know. I think we'll put some rules around it. We'll get everybody together. It's got some. I think if Goodman's on tonight, he can tell us what they refer to. But I think it has to be before 2000 was their rule. So you were right in there with the original Intimidators in that.
All right.
So, but there you go. Pullman says at least 10 years is vintage. I don't know. That's too new.
I think that's too new too, because I have a hyperdrive 4-wheel drive car that Josh Searle ran at the open wheel. I don't know how long ago that was.
So that was
It's got a sideboard on it. It's pretty awesome.
Hold on, because I have my plaque. 2008.
So yeah, that ain't old enough for me.
No. There you go, Brian. That's Brian's answer.
That thing's if it's got a brushless motor in it, it ain't old enough.
Yeah. There you go. Now they're getting old on us. So, well, we try to keep these to a half an hour. So I'm going to give everybody one last chance to put up. If you have any questions for my buddy Danny here, throw them up right now. I'll while we're waiting for that, I'll do a couple of things. So we'll have the Thursday night show. We're going to go over.
I'll bring it, Jim.
It's
pretty badass.
This fantastic device Thursday night, and then we'll be off, but we will have a special show. And Danny, are you going to be able to make it up to Tennessee, or are you guys going to be busy with big cars?
I'm going.
Awesome. So I'm
going to try to go this weekend too.
Perfect. We might see you up there. So let me give you the schedule on that. Friday night, off the back of the Sticky Icky trailer, we are doing a live broadcast with you and the craziest person in all of RC, I believe, Tommy Burgess. So you're going to have to come by the trailer. We'll put you on and get your reflection on how it's going at the score race. Or we'll get you on Suicide Watch, or you'll be bragging, one of the two. It only goes both ways. And then that'll be somewhere, we don't know the exact time, but it will be probably somewhere around 9-10 o'clock next Friday night, live from the score race. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then, like I said, we'll be off for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be back with a bunch of vintage cars. And Danny, we'll have you back on, and we'll figure this vintage class out.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all send me some messages on what you got for sale.
Then, you know what? It'll be easier. You're busy. Why don't you send them to me? And then I'll forward them on. So I'll go through and make sure that you got.
Yeah, 10-4. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And it's always fun to show off some of this. Nobody else gets to see it. It just sits up here in my game room, and it's pretty cool to be able to show this stuff off. So thanks for having me, Hinch. Good run this weekend. You and Reese hauled ass, and we'll see you in Tennessee.
We will see you there. Oh, hey, Bob. There you go. Bob Stormer jumped on. He says, Sale, how much you have?
See, we just got done talking about you, Bob.
Yeah. That's we got to get him on. I'll see if I'm going to give you a call, Bob, see if we can.
You're going to have a lot longer show than 30 minutes if you want him on.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're going to do a couple of special editions here pretty soon.
Bob Stormer's got the baddest collection, and he only brings stuff out every now and then. But he's got more stuff than anybody I know, and I haven't even been there. I know what he's got because I've seen pictures.
I saw one that Bob did just on radios, and it was like a golf cart full of these things. Like it was an entire cart or grocery cart of these things. Yeah, it was incredible. So
somebody must have told him we were talking about him.
Yeah, he heard it. A German magazine just wrote an article. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, you're a living legend, my friend. So
yeah, he is.
But again, Danny, man, I appreciate you coming on. That's a lot of fun. And come back anytime. I know you got a crazy schedule, but anytime you're welcome back, brother.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Take care. See ya.
Later.